fire, fire for fire, fire.
Before I watch this chat, I want to ask you a question. Do you think I woke up this morning and I wanted to talk about politics? Do you think I got out of bed excited to talk about a right-wing college campus debate, bro? Getting his neck blown out so hard it looks like a Quentin Tarantino movie? In front of his wife and kids, like right in front of him? Of course not. I hate this so much. But it has bothered me and gotten under my skin in such an inexplicable way that, like, I feel like I need to talk about it. Like, I want to get it off my chest. And I can't remember who said this, but I'm 98% sure it was Shulonhead. It was either a tweet or a video. She said you might not be interested in politics, but politics is very interested in you. And holy shit, was she right. I didn't watch, like, Charlie Kirk. I saw, like, clips here and there on Twitter. I'm serious when I say I don't really watch or pay attention to politics or political talking heads. But that doesn't mean his murder doesn't affect me. It doesn't mean that I felt nothing when I saw what I saw on Twitter yesterday. So I'm like, I've been waiting to watch this video so I can talk about it myself. If this kind of thing bothers you, just leave and come back in an hour and we'll be done, okay? Anyway, let's get to it. Something insane has happened today.
Hey guys, it's me again, and it's been a little while. Just before I get into the main topic of the video, I want to explain why there haven't been any videos. My dad has been in the hospital for the better part of a week now. Very serious situation. It has required my full attention. And because of that, I've been on calls, I've been dealing with other people, talking to members of the family, and doing everything that I need to be there for my dad and for my family during this situation. And because of that, I haven't been live and I haven't made a lot of videos. I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll be back as soon as possible. That being said, we had something insane happen today, and I was able to break away a little bit earlier, and I wanted to make a video about it and talk about the obvious and inevitable nature of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This happened a few hours ago, and it was probably one of the most gruesome and graphic, and this is coming from somebody who grew up on Lively, videos I've ever seen. The first time I saw a video, I thought it was AI generated. The guy gets shot in the neck, and blood is spurting out. I didn't even know it could do that.
I'll tell you what, I literally saw it right as I started stream. And I was like, is this real? I thought it was fake for a second. It was insane, man. I was kind of shaky after that.
And it was
like,
absolutely fucking horrifying to see something like that happen in front of a massive audience of people. Now, if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, Charlie Kirk has been a pretty noteworthy, controversial guy. He's a conservative. He goes to a lot of college campuses, does live debates. This is a pretty popular format nowadays, and Charlie Kirk has been popularizing it and utilizing it now for many years. And he's even featured in South Park recently because of it. Charlie Kirk definitely is not a super radical right-wing person, but I would say that he's more of the moderate to, kind of extreme right-wing. Very, very, I would say, lukewarm, though, in my opinion, at least especially, and this is where we're going, especially compared to now. And what I think is going to happen now, because obviously these shootings like this don't really happen inside of a vacuum, and they never do, they never have. And I think that the situation that we have right now is that there is a tremendous amount of political violence that is advocated for, promoted, and allowed to exist on social media that has turned up the temperature in...
I'm sure my audience can attest to this. I have dedicated a large chunk of my channel's content to calling out and making fun of the absolutely absurd shit that is said on sites like Reddit. We cover the absolutely unhinged articles that retards write. Everything from white man hate to right-wing hate to insane takes on gamers. I've been doing Twitch and YouTube for, almost 3 years now. And I have never had trouble finding some of the insane shit that I've looked at. It's insane. It is an infinite well of content, and that should alarm you, honestly. How extremely prevalent and easily accessible and easy it is to find. Like, just online, just at a glance.
In all political conversations, all social conversations, and all discourse on the internet in general, to a point where it's almost unrecoverable. You have people that are out there all the time advocating for violence, advocating for people to get killed. Somebody needs to take care of this guy. Somebody needs to deal with this. I wish he were.
Or somebody needs to red mist him, like, or somebody he can just, like, surprised that he can just walk the streets with opinions like this, or X person is next. As we've seen thousands and thousands of times after yesterday's events.
We're dead. Won't somebody do it? The 8647,
yeah.
All of the crypto messaging and all the doxing, right? Why do you dox somebody? Why do you post a person's home address? It's to make other people that are insane, like the person who killed Charlie Kirk, it's to give them the ammunition they need to kill that person and to put that person's life in danger. That's why they're doing it. And so that's the reason why they want to find out the identities of ICE agents. That's the reason why they want to find out the identities of Tesla owners, like at the beginning of the year. It's so they can destroy their car and destroy their lives. And this isn't necessarily a one-sided thing. I think that in the last 5 years or so, especially since BLM, it's been a like 90% left-wing thing, but that doesn't mean that the 10% right-wing people are right either. But I do think that now you're going to see a lot more right-wing people balancing out those scales. The fact is that you can take a knife to a gunfight all you want, and you can think that you're honorable, but you're going to end up being dead.
So this is the hot take that a lot of people are mad at Asmund on Twitter for saying that like 90% of political violence is left-wing and right-wing people are going to start reciprocating. Obviously, he's not encouraging this to happen. Obviously, he's against it. He's just predicting the road that he thinks we're headed down. I've had a lot of time to think between now and yesterday, to talk to friends and family and sleep on what happened yesterday. I'm gonna try and communicate my overall takeaway from it and see if it kind of, I don't know, helps people maybe understand where Asmund's coming from. Like, let me put it this way. Everyone who watches my stream, that I usually have things to talk about that I found and was sent on from Twitter. I didn't do that this morning because if I knew that if I logged onto Twitter today, I was gonna see something that would make me mad or upset. And it's not like a small chance. It's not like, oh, it's here and there. It's not a few bad apples. It's a guarantee. Because the amount of people that are celebrating his death is fucking insane. And I think, to be completely honest with everyone, that's the bigger point. I think that when the dust settles, when everything calms down a little bit, and people start to look at this happening in its entirety, I think the assassination itself is going to be probably only 10% of the reason that people are mad. I think 90% of the reason that people will be holding the anger in their hearts and remember this event is because of the realization that the people that are celebrating this death are not a small minority. They're not a loud minority, chat. It is a massive, brain-rotted swath of the population and a huge sizable portion of the public that unironically thinks this way. I think that's what he's trying to say.
And I think that's what right-wing people have done for a very long time. They've tried to speak above the political violence. They've tried to advocate above it and not try to stoop down to that level.
And I think that even normies in the wake of this tragedy are coming to the conclusion that a lot of their close friends and even family are like this. They would celebrate if they died because of their political views or opinions. This is probably the biggest, highest profile assassination since freaking JFK. And I think the virality of it has caused a lot of people's masks to slip. And now everyone knows that how big of a swath of the population actually feels. And I think that's terrifying, honestly.
But the issue is that a lot of these social media companies have expressed literally zero desire to even do the bare minimum of moderation. I think that two of the worst actors are Twitter or X and Reddit. Both of these platforms are full of a bunch of extremist nut jobs that not only should have their accounts banned, but they should probably be put in mental institutions. And I think that now, I find it to be kind of interesting taking a step back for a week or so and seeing how many people are coming around to the inevitable reality that this is the only path forward. There are so many people in society now that are just completely unhinged, under-medicated, and really just completely insane that you can't have a person like that running wild out in society. They cause problems for themselves, not to mention everybody else around them. And I think that
they don't just cause problems for people around them. They groom and psyop their friends and family into being as mentally ill as they are through identity and victim politics. And when you get sucked into these mentally ill social circles, you really quickly learn that not adhering to their beliefs 100%, not agreeing with every single thing that they say, will often lead you to being completely ostracized and cut off and often even slandered and berated behind your back or to your face. It operates like a cult, in my opinion. We've made fun of it 1,000 times on this channel. Everybody can see it for what it is. It's pathetic.
As society, we need to have an honest conversation about how to deal with these people in a way that, and I'll be real, I don't really care about the people that are crazy. Their well-being and the way that, things are for them. Of course, obviously, I wouldn't want it to be bad, but it's certainly not important. What's really important is all the people who aren't crazy, making sure that people that are not crazy, that are good actors, that are law-abiding citizens, are able to live a life of peace, a life of prosperity, and a life without fear of going on the subway, for example.
True.
As at the recent event as well.
That was horrible.
And I think that every single person in the world deserves to live in a place like that. And I don't want to see, America turn into a PvP server. And it sure seems like it is. And I think that in order to prevent that from happening, we need to have honest conversations about what do you do with people that, get arrested 14 times?
This is a smaller issue, in my opinion, that the people that are getting arrested 14 times are the crazy people that need to be in jail. Obviously. The bigger problem is the growing social justice demographic that supports people like this. How do you deal with a massive amount of people that advocate for political violence, advocate for murders, advocate for more people to be murdered, so long as they have the wrong opinion or politics? How do you defeat the mentally ill brainworm that has infected such a huge amount of people? And it makes them think that no action against you is wrong because you believe the wrong thing. Like, you murdered! Like, you murdered in broad daylight! How do you deal with people that think that calling your jungler a slur in League is akin to committing the worst crimes against humanity? And then some of these people will call you a fucking slur and then see nothing wrong with it. For me, I think the answer has always been social media. Social media has had huge bonuses and positive outcomes for tons of people. Like, I mean, look at me. I made a career out of social media. But the downside is that it's also allowed all of these terrible ideas and ideologies to spread. And like Asmund said, they're not moderating it. They can't be bothered to shut it down. And even more than that, sites like Reddit have moderators that agree with those messages. It's so sad.
And it's not even a question, right? You put them in jail and you throw away the key and you compel them to work, and that way you can make the money back from imprisoning them forever. That's the way that you solve that problem. It's very simple, actually. But for some reason, the way that makes people feel has made them unwilling to look at this obvious truth. If you look in history, this is what we've always done in history, and it's because it works. And the problem is that now we have so much of the discourse that's dominated by emotional thinking, that's dominated by the most unstable, the most virtue signal, the most, ridiculous, performative empathy possible, and that's defining a huge political voice in the country. This has become a tremendous detriment to everyone. And I think that with people like the shooter that probably shot Charlie Kirk, with that guy in the subway that stabbed that Ukrainian woman, or with that trans shooter that shot up the school, one thing that's common among all of them is that these people, in almost all cases, were verifiably nuts beforehand, and nothing ever was done about it.
And not only was nothing done about it, dude, but after the tragedy eventually unfolds, it's met with fucking celebration online, which inspires other crazy people to do the same thing, and then it happens again and again and again. It's exhausting, man. It is a positive feedback loop for mentally ill freaks to carry out disgusting crimes.
And until we can stomach the idea of solving problems like that before they happen, we're going to keep having problems. And I think that with Charlie Kirk, it's very obvious that the amount of, political violence and advocating for political violence that's happening on the internet has turned up the temperature and created an environment and a culture where this type of behavior is normal. And not only...
Dude, it's not just direct calls for violence. Again, I'm gonna sound like a frickin' broken record at this point. I have tons of videos on my channel calling out the hateful and often fucking batshit insane opinions on men, white people, and gamers. The sad truth is, there are tons of politicians, news orgs, journalists, opinion piece writers, and influencers of all kinds on every platform imaginable that spread this retarded, brain-dead line of thinking that paints these people as evil and creates a hierarchy of victimhood Olympics. And when you tell people over and over and over that men, white people, gamers, or whoever's evil and out to get you day in and day out, eventually someone's gonna do something about it, and that's awful. And every time something like this happens, these people always shout from the rooftops like, "Oh, I don't condone violence." Motherfucker, there's blood on your hands. You're partially responsible for what led up to this. It's all connected, chat. Social media is making people mentally ill, ostracizing them from their social groups. If you don't agree with the hive mind, like politicians and influencers demonizing white men, celebrating when someone is getting assassinated, glorification of that individual. It's disgusting. It's just like it's this vicious cycle, and it needs to stop.
Isn't normal, but it's actually encouraged. And the problem is that now people are acting on it. And you're starting to see this happen, and I think it's going to continue getting worse. I don't think Charlie Kirk is going to be the last one, but I think that we will look at Charlie Kirk's death and see it as a turning point in this topic. And what I'm really trying to get at here with this entire point is that right now we are at a extremely pivotal moment. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that right-wing people are not going to continue to turn the other cheek. They're not going to continue to just, oh, well, this is just a crazy left-wing radical. I think you're probably going to see right-wing people doing the same thing to left-wing people. And honestly, while I don't think this is a good thing, I certainly don't really feel that sorry for them. Because a lot of left-wing people have no problem advocating for violence, or at least using coded language in order to advocate for violence.
I do feel sorry for them. Maybe I'm just a girl and I have more empathy, but I know there are left-wing people that don't think this way. I know there are many left-wing people that are just economically left, or maybe on the left on a few issues. But as we've talked about in so many of my videos in the past, politics has become extremely tribalistic. If you're not with us, you're with them. There's no gray anymore. It's black or white. And even though that's become the culture of the loudest voices and of social media, I still believe that there's lots of normal people on both sides that don't support this. The problem is that the demographic that does support it has not gotten smaller. It hasn't shrunk. It hasn't lost power. It's gotten bigger, and it's getting bigger every year, man.
The fact is that there's a certain level of intellectual dishonesty that goes on in situations like this where it's considered, oh, well, this isn't actually what they meant, and no, this is actually some others. No, it is. It's exactly what they mean. They're trying to advocate for killing people that they disagree with. That's what's happening, and there's no talking around it. And to the extent that you try to, you're insulting the intelligence of anyone that you're speaking to. And I think that now you're going to start seeing a lot of right-wing people end up doing this to left-wing people now even more, because it's very clear that these social media platforms are not going to moderate this behavior. The FBI, for whatever reason, just refuses to deal with or have any degree of accountability for dealing with these obvious terrorists that are in the country. And because of that, I think you're going to start seeing an uptick of violence from right-wing people as well. And this is...
I hope that's not the case. I hope he's wrong. But I think it was also Asman who said that violence becomes the answer when the democratic process doesn't work. Again, not a political Andy. I know very little about politics. Don't want to know about it. But Trump is the president right now, and this shit is still happening. So that begs the question, is this violent uptick and extremism something that we can vote our way out of? I don't know. And no, I'm not insinuating anything. It's just a thought that I've come to, and probably many people have come to as well. I hope we can. I want it to stop. But how we get there, I don't know, chat. I don't know, man.
Is going to be, in my opinion, I don't really think the word is justified, because it's not justified, but the word is expected. I think it's going to be expected. The fact is that, again, you bring a knife to a gunfight, you're going to lose. And don't be surprised when you keep bringing guns to gunfights and then somebody else decides to start shooting back. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think this is a degradation of society as a whole. And ultimately, the real burden of responsibility here doesn't really fall on influencers, and I don't think that it falls even on the commenters themselves. I think it falls primarily on the government.
Of course it doesn't. It's the fault of the government. Like, at the end of the day, the law needs to be enforced. And if it's not, and social media companies are allowing people to make calls to violence with no repercussions. And people call on the streets for violence and nothing happens. And a song calls for a sitting senator to be killed and nothing happens, then guess what? You get fucking violence. It's not on influencers, talk show hosts, or even social media companies to police this. At the very top of the frickin' totem pole is supposed to be the government. And no laws need to be changed. We don't need new regulations. We just need them to enforce the laws that already fucking exist. So these fucking insane people stop calling for violence without impunity.
The fact is that the government, there are already laws that permit, explicit calls to violence. There's already laws that permit the types of stalking and doxing
Yeah.
that people engage in online. And one of the big things that is a misconception is that people like me want new laws. We want any form of extra censorship at all. I certainly don't want that,
Hell
and I don't know
no.
anybody else that does either. But what we do want is we want the existing laws to be applied and to be enforced in an accurate and a fair way, which is clearly not what's happening. And really, the government not doing that and giving this asymmetrical, in my opinion, advantage to left-wing people to fully and with complete freedom practice genuine terrorism on a daily basis, and then, you know, congratulate each other about how moral and how good they are for doing it.
And for succeeding and killing someone they hate. Don't forget that. Don't forget that they celebrate and congratulate each other for successful assassinations of people they disagree with. As we've frickin' seen, man.
Something bad that happened in Palestine, or something bad that Donald Trump did 3 years ago. This is just simply a response. This is what's going to happen. And so, and I think that that's probably what it's going to take for these left-wing people to realize what a bad idea what they've been doing is. Because until it starts happening to them, until they start having people that are their friends, or, you know, their you know, like icons that they look up to, the same way people looked up to Charlie Kirk, you know, until they start seeing those people get killed, I don't think it's really going to be real for them.
Hot take. I completely disagree with this. I know Rare Alana disagrees with Asmund Moment. My opinion is that if this starts happening to them, it will not cause them to suddenly see what they're doing is bad. It will embolden them to call for more violence. They have been playing this game of gaslighting for decades. If a right-wing person assassinated a prominent left-wing talking head, the left wouldn't say, oh my god, we need to stop, this is what we've been doing. No, of course they won't. They'll point fingers and scream, see, we told you, we knew they were violent, and it will spiral into even more and more killings, and more calls for violence, and more riots. They will take any act of retribution from some insane right-wing person and gaslight the ever-living crap out of you and say, this is your fault. And they will point to this exact video and say, Asmund's responsible for it. Clip it. That's what they'll do. Even though Asmund is just predicting what he thinks will happen, they'll say he's calling for violence. They already are. It's just abhorrent, man.
And unfortunately, I think that's the path that we're headed down because of the government and social media companies and every other seemingly governmental apparatus that has just completely hand-waved this problem and ignored it entirely. So the death of Charlie Kirk and the assassination of him should not come as a surprise to anyone. This should be something that everybody could have expected. All you had to do is read Twitter for an hour and you could have told me this would have happened, of course. Same with Reddit. And until that core problem is addressed, you will continue to see a rapid decline in any type of social discourse. And I'm actually kind of afraid to see what's going to happen next. Because I think it's just going to continue getting worse. And I don't see the reason for it to stop. And so anyway, I wanted to make this video because it's obviously a topic that, you know, I've been talking about this a lot for the past few years now. And I was laughed at a lot, and people were telling me it wasn't that big of a deal, and oh, they were joking. Well, I saw
Yeah, I guess it's not a joke anymore, huh?
the video. That wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
And the reality is that those jokes and everything create a culture and an environment where the actual actions are more permissible. And you also have people that are the ones telling the quote jokes that are talking around just, you know, directly, you know, saying that this is a bad thing and it shouldn't be tolerated for any reason.
Can you imagine how many quote-unquote jokes Asmund has, like, read? Or, like, Tectone? Or Kirsche? I've gotten death threats, too. Like, I'm not fucking hiding behind it. I'm just being honest. Do you guys think... I'll let him talk. I can't. I'm just gonna go off the rails.
I don't want to go through a bunch of different names.
Yeah, joking is when they get caught, yes.
This is the way I look at it. I'm just going to make a categorical judgment here. Is that any content creator or anybody like this who has been advocating for violence against a person in an extrajudicial way. I'm not talking about trying people who they disagree with for treason. This is advocating for the judicial process to be used against people they disagree with. I think that's fine. But whenever you have people that are saying things like 8647, or anybody who's advocating for any form of extrajudicial justice, extrajudicial justice, and basically vigilante justice on people who they disagree with politically, you have to realize that all of those people, I think, have made themselves acceptable targets.
I think this ties into what I was saying earlier about how people for years and years and years will demonize like white people or men or right-wing people and say they're evil and Nazis and scum and no, act against them is wrong, kill all Nazis, that kind of thing. And then they'll say, I condone violence when something finally happens. I don't know if I fully grasp his point here, but I think the message is that people that are perpetuating this behavior that keeps causing these acts of violence are more likely to be targeted by another insane person on the opposite side of the political spectrum that wants to commit violence. There are plenty of crazy people on both sides. I don't know if I would have used the word quote-unquote acceptable, but I think he's trying to say acceptable to someone who wants to commit violence, in other words. A fucking insane person. Maybe I'm wrong.
And I think that there's a lot and millions of people out there nowadays that see that.
Yeah.
And I think that that should be
Sad.
extremely worrying for them. It should be terrifying. But the reality is that they have created that environment themselves through their own actions, through their behavior, and through their own words. You reap what you sow. And I think that things are about to get a whole lot worse.
I really hope
So anyway,
not,
guys,
man.
I wanted to make this video and talk about it.
I just want to
And
be an
that's
anime
about all
girl,
I've got
man.
to say. So I hope to be back soon. I'll record videos when I can, here and there. But for the most part, as I said before, my dad has had so many really serious issues going on. I need to devote my full attention to making sure
his
that
dad's
he's
dealing
healthy
with cancer.
and taken care of. And so as much as I look forward to streaming, this has to take priority. I don't have a time frame. It will probably be a matter of weeks and maybe not even that long until I'm back regularly. And so hopefully that's the case. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Another senseless death that never needed to happen. And I think that anybody who was, talking about this and turning up the heat on any of this type of political rhetoric and discussing, or at least, flirting with the idea of political violence, I think all of those people have made themselves acceptable targets in all of the worst ways possible. And I don't think that this is a good thing either, but I think it's happened. So anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you soon. Anyway, peace.
Peace, man. Peace. Oh, man, dude. To wrap it up, chat, to summarize kinda how I feel, I didn't watch Charlie. Like, again, I said it before, I just watched some clips here and there on Twitter that just came across. I didn't really know a lot about him, but from everything I saw, he wasn't even like a politician. He was just some moderate debate bro that went to college campuses and tried to change people's minds and had open dialogues. He advocated for debate, not for fucking violence. For words, not bullets. And they killed him. And I say they because I think everyone celebrating his death is complacent in its happening. You are partially irresponsible. You're happy. There is blood on your hands. Because your celebrations of the death of someone who isn't even a politician, who literally just talked to college kids on campuses because you've been groomed into thinking his beliefs are dangerous to you, you are part of the problem. Anyone who advocates for violence over words is an absolute fucking freak. And we need to get the narrative spreading from Reddit and other strongholds of radicals under control. Stop letting freaks call for violence with impunity. That's just how I feel. I think it's disgusting. If I saw tomorrow, hypothetically speaking, someone that identifies as left-wing, like for example Hassan, and let's say he hypothetically had a family and he had 2 kids, and they saw him getting his throat ripped out by a bullet right in front of him, I would be absolutely devastated. I think it was disgusting. I've never advocated for someone to fucking die for this. It's so bad. You are a piece of shit, genuinely. Like, if you think like that, you fucking go away. You need to be in a mental institution. It's demonic. It's gross.
Fire, 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 fire.